Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second session of our Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle, La Terreur et la Vertu. Tonight, we will be exploring more of the shared past and the individual past, even, of our three group members. I hesitate to say coterie because it's sort of a pointed word, in this landscape, in this environment of revolutionary, enlightened enthusiasm, passion, and of course, significant amounts of danger. Before we get into it for tonight, we will introduce each other. First of all, me, I'm Beck. I'll be the storyteller for tonight's session. And before we start, let's introduce the lovely members of our group, starting with Adam.
Hi, I'm Adam Hembry. I'll be playing the Malkavian, Remy Sinjin.
I'm Jack. I will be playing Madame de Comtesse Le Visage, the Toreador of great import.
Way to tell that about yourself.
Hi, I'm Syrinx. I will be playing Mayel Cadieux, the gangrel of the group.
And what a group it is, too. Where we left off at the end of last session, we had just had a significant, lengthy, and very dangerous conversation with the thrall of some mysterious benefactor, an interested third party, who indirectly approached these three kindred, asking them for their involvement in a plot to overthrow Maximilien Robespierre, who rules over the city of Paris these nights with a proverbial iron fist, employing rule by terror in order to weed out the impure aspects of Parisian society in order to create one that is entirely virtuous, wherein men and women live at once for themselves and thereby live in harmony with one another. A lofty notion, a lofty ideal, but one that can only be achieved through mass amounts of bloodshed. One that is destroying Paris and changing its culture significantly by the night. The group has agreed tentatively to go along with this plan, though not without asking for their own particular things in return. Now they exit the Club des Cordeliers, where the meeting was held, heading back to the Haven, the establishment of Remy, the Theatre Le Bon Diable, nearby, in the center of Paris. While you're walking, the night is filled with people, filled with shouts, filled with drunken yelling and singing from bars that you pass along the way, filled with people roaming the streets, chatting with one another, perhaps on their way home from a long day at work. Paris is alive, 24 hours a day. Even now, as it's approaching midnight, it's still boisterous, thumping with life of all kinds. You walk through the streets together, passing by all of this frivolity, all of this life. Is there any conversation you have amongst each other on the way? How do you present yourselves while you are walking through public? What are you doing?
Lucretia definitely has been practicing how to walk in the street, so that she doesn't get lynched, killed, executed, you know. So she's just going to use her usual etiquette, which I actually don't know what it is, but is probably everyone that comes near her, she gets like a, yeah, Paris, we're all divine. Like she's just doing whatever she needs to do to not be suspected of anything.
And had such greetings, fellow kids energy.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Yes, I love divinity. And yeah, that's what she's doing. I think that's her main focus, unless she is engaged by someone in conversation.
As you three are walking together, Lucretia, I will get you to make a manipulation performance roll for me. How many successes on the
I got
manipulation
5
performance?
successes on
5
manipulation
successes.
performance.
Perfect. As you walk by, you get a lot of attention from the sans-culotte population. Sans-culotte meaning the sort of working people of Paris is the best way I can put it. They wear these sort of tatty street clothes, women with sort of the stays on the outsides of their dresses and detachable pockets bulging with like the coins that they're using to buy the things that they need for the next day and all of the like and such like this, wearing tricolor sort of paraphernalia in their hats and such like this. They pass by you, give you nods, nod to your friends as well. Some of them take note of the way you're dressed quite differently to most of them, but at the same time, your fervor seems to resonate with their own. Whether or not they are genuine in their own acknowledgement of it is a mystery in itself, but they definitely notice your enthusiasm and respond in kind.
Excellent.
Is there any conversation had between you three on the way?
Well, conversation will definitely not be started by on Mael's side. But as to what she is doing, she's mostly sticking to the sides and a bit to the shadows. And even if she thinks she sees someone suspicious, she will like stand still to the side for a bit, disappear into the wall, and then like after she thinks the person has passed, she'll continue on, stuff like that.
I will get a wits awareness from you.
All right. Suspicious people, here we come.
She seems
Picturing
to be a
Kronk from
woman
Emperor's
that
New
you're
Groove.
walking alongside who seems very suspicious.
She seems oddly out of this. 4 successes.
With 4 successes, you notice something that is very poignantly suspicious. Down sort of a kind of side alley, as you're walking down the main street to Le Bon Diable, you notice a sort of young lady looking sort of behind her shoulders, both ways, as though she's paranoid or scared about seeing somebody or scared about being spotted. She doesn't spot you, however, you are naturally too good at concealing yourself from being seen by such mundane eyes, shall we say. Once she's convinced that she is not being watched, she pulls something out of one of her detachable pockets. Looks to be a piece of parchment or paper or something of this nature. And what she does is she sort of takes out what looks like a pin or a knife or something of that nature, so a small kind of pocket knife, and puts the little piece of paper on the wall of this side street and plunges the knife into it, essentially sticking this piece of paper onto the wall as like a flyer or poster or something like that. And she looks around again once she's done it and then takes off down the alleyway, sort of turning the corner into the darkness. You lose sight of her. You see this happening. Sort of suspicious looking.
All right. Can I take note of the features that I can see of her being? Can I try to remember what she looks like?
Yeah, absolutely. With 4 successes on the wits awareness, I'll say that you get an extremely decent profiling of her. So much so that if you saw her in the street, even in a crowd of people, you'd probably have a sense of recognition about seeing her as this overtly suspicious presence here.
All right. Well, as I see that happening, I will motion, like make a little psst sound to the others, if they're not too distracted in conversation, and then make a little motion as I head into the alley because I want to check out what is on that flyer.
Oh, yes, rights of man indeed. Very good, very good. Oh, a moment.
I agree, absolutely. Oh gosh, that still thinking about the Festival of the Supreme Being. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. I'm glad you agree.
Tip top.
And
let's go check it out.
yeah, certainly. You make your way sort of over to where she disappeared down this alley. Mael, you're the first to notice. You won't need to make a check for this, actually, because you are aware of this person. Lucretia, you also know exactly who this is. It is a flyer depicting Jean-Baptiste Tellier, who is the ex-Gangrel Primogen. Mael, you know who this is as well. And he's sort of depicted as per I guess kind of, how do you say this, like reminiscent very much of the sort of gothic literature coming out of Britain in this particular time period as this kind of monstrous figure, fangs, everything like this, dark clothing, sort of shadowy figure with the features very sort of artistically accurately depicted of Jean-Baptiste Tellier. Essentially, this flyer speaks of a conspiracy that he may be some kind of, you know, supernatural being of some description, or at least depicts him in such a way.
Oh my.
When everyone is there and has been able to take a look from it, I'll take the knife out of the wall and also take the piece of paper. Best to keep on to this.
Is this like a wanted poster? Is that the, or is it just a picture?
It's a picture. It's the best way I can describe it is it's sort of a
Yes.
it's a conspiracy theory sort of thing. It's like this guy, you see him around at nighttime. He's some kind of like, you know, monstrous dude or something like that. Nobody knows much about him, you know. It's sort of like, yeah, it's almost a fictive kind of thing, but
Paris has a Sasquatch.
yes,
Got it.
indeed.
Okay. Cool.
Poor Jean-Baptiste. Such a handsome man. Such inability to conceal himself.
The crowd you do associate with sometimes, Lucretia. My goodness. What would you say?
Know. Honestly, especially with him. Can't be helped.
Surprised
We
he's
can't
still
all be the very best.
surprised he's still walking around.
Oh, you and me both.
Let's keep on to this. I saw the woman who left it. With any chances we meet again. But it's good to know that there is a group of people here in Paris suspecting others of being supernatural beings.
It will be very fun to rub this in his face.
There are some natural advantages to being thought to purveyor of fictions, after all.
What's the deal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will hold on to it and then we can continue walking.
Certainly. If there's no other conversation between you, you
I will give a bit of a warning. I'll just say I'm delighted to have you both visit the premises, and of course, you will receive nothing but the fullest of hospitality. Bear in mind that it might not be the most joyous of occasions for some of my associates to do so. They will behave
Cool.
themselves, however.
What do you mean? They're not going to be. Are they?
I have full faith in your charms.
Oh,
But
Remy, you are so flattering.
but be aware, all of our lives have moved on since the end of our association, and there may be some suspicion.
It will be interesting to unpack it in your lovely theater.
Now,
If anyone has any unpleasant opinions, they can surely voice them.
I'm sure. But I know that I can trust the two of you to be the stronger creatures that you are. We won't have any trouble, I'm sure of it.
She could blush, she would.
Mael just kind of mutters stronger beings and silently starts to walk again.
Mhm. All right, then.
Certainly. With that, you make your way to Le Bon Diable itself. Have the pack been here before? Have you owned it for so long a time that you would have frequented here when you were together prior to the revolution?
It's a young establishment, I would
Okay.
say. So there's if we were still a pack, it would have been very early days of this place getting acquired, because it's only semi-recently that such places could exist.
Yeah.
So I would say it probably would be mostly unfamiliar, or you would have seen him in the process of trying to
It's like
acquire
the
it.
super early iterations. Like we have a stage and some chairs. And it's like,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is an empty room.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But it's underground, man.
Yeah.
As all the
Yeah, it's
best things
different now.
are.
Yeah. A lot have changed
Certainly.
in 5 years.
5 years indeed. So you sort of come across, as you described in the previous session, Remy, this borderline sort of ostentatious imitation of the Palace of Versailles in its decor, sort of new in a lot of regards, but at the same time kind of overtly pushing that aesthetic so much so that it borders on being a little too much, would you say?
Oh, it crosses that border and
Okay.
dances around in it, I would say.
Yeah.
It's very self-consciously gaudy
Absolutely.
to the point of silliness.
Yep. Love it. You enter into the theater itself. There are still guests milling about after the performance of this particular night. People at the bar, people conversing with each other, discussing the performance itself. You see Eleanor sort of among the crowd, with Willem on her arm, as he was before the show as well. And he is very eagerly conversing with all of the guests, who seem to be asking him about his process, about the sort of, rehearsal, kind of regime that he has been on. And Eleanor does a lot of the answering for him, but he is very graciously sort of approaching and conversing with all of the guests as well. Everybody
very
seems
cute.
in high spirits.
Okay, so it looks like it went well.
Indeed.
All right, exactly as expected. In that case, Remy's going to look around and then turn to the two of you and say, "Welcome to my home. C'est le bon diable." I'm afraid the evening's entertainments are about to broaden somewhat. There will be dancing, drinking, that sort of thing. But I believe we have a discussion to have.
Yeah,
Follow me.
of
Wherever you want to
course.
have it.
She's looking around at all the decor and the people that the very smallest of like at some of the really auspicious stuff. She's like, but she follows regardless.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mael
and
could not care less.
yeah, Yeah.
Someone has to.
It's the sort of place where it's like most of the staff are also current or former performers as well. So you'd see like everyone behind the bar is like shouting over at the other people, and like it's a bit that. Um, so then Remy will lead you through along the backside. There is a sort of exit towards the kitchens area and one of the rear exits, and then a different door. Um, which Remy will open with a key and take you down a flight of stairs um, through a kind of secret entrance to a club below the club, as it were. And this is a place called the Oubliette. Um, I don't think this place would have been here when we were a pack. This would be a
Although,
newer place. But it's down a kind of spiral stone staircase into a dark lower basement floor. And it would be like redolent with the scent of incense and candles and things like that, really pungent and low lights, kind of heavily sheltered with colored shades, sort of making a kind of dense, hazy atmosphere. And there's all sorts of couches and cushions and like curtains drawn and little cavities, places where people are just kind of lying around and doing drugs, mostly opiates, but a combination of things, kind of laying passed out in various states of disarray. Um, and Remy will take you past all of that to a small kind of office room that has a few chairs um, and like a couple of candles burning. Uh, and I'll say I'm feeling a bit peckish. Uh, if either of you are feeling the same, you are more than welcome to sample the wares that are here. Bear in mind, they are distinctly flavored.
I do
such
have to say, if dreams could be materialized, might be that they looked like this.
That is quite profound of you, Mael. I appreciate it. Just do be sure not to kill anyone.
Oh, I'm not gonna feed.
Oh,
I
very well.
appreciate the offer, though.
Of
It's not
course.
my vibe. See the cogwheels and
Yeah, no,
Lucretia's
yeah.
watching
head
She's like
watching.
turning.
she's looking around. You can see that she's like identifying every single drug that's in here. Like she's just like, yeah, I can understand that. She's like sussing out exactly everything, and then she just goes, "I should be fine for now."
Well, make yourselves comfortable. I won't be a moment. And then Remy is going to have a look around to see who is here.
Mm.
And this is like sort of his habitual process. So he'll want to choose someone who seems, I guess, ready, robust, not recently having fed from them,
Yes, sure.
and someone who's definitely on opium.
At least 80% of the people who are frequenting this particular establishment beneath Le Bon Diable at the moment, you can tell are in the thralls of the substances that you so graciously provide for the purposes of them delving into their own subconsciouses, drawing out all of these concepts and sort of repressed things that you find a great deal of meaning within. Is there music being played down here or not?
Yes, but while upstairs the tenor is very much like about like horns, major key, dance number, high tempo kind of stuff when it's on. Down here is sort of more soothing
Mm.
and even sometimes melancholy, like I think the rotation would be something like the occasional like lone flute player,
Mm.
or like a cellist or viola, something like
Yeah.
that, kind of somber and lilting.
Yeah.
Even maybe a harp player on occasion,
Mm-hmm.
but never more than one, I would say.
Right.
Just coming in, and often silence as well.
Yeah. Certainly. To find somebody who is in, sort of the ideal state of both intoxication and readiness for what you are about to provide, I think I'll get an intelligence awareness or intelligence occult, whichever you'd prefer, in terms of either looking toward their, I guess, readiness in terms of the dreams you wish to delve into through the act of feeding, like the vampiric element, or in a more sort of primal kind of instinctual hunter's way. I'm not sure how you'd go about this, so whichever you feel is more appropriate.
I think because Remy has a specialty in occult when it comes to dreams, I think
Hmm.
maybe what he would be looking for is like what we would call today someone who is in that kind of, oh, this is too perfect, isn't it? That REM, that
Mm.
REM stage of like where dreams are happening. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you can look at a person and be like, you're dreaming right now. This is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he would be looking for. So maybe intelligence occult.
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and he is at hunger 3, so that's 2.
Ooh, we're getting high.
Yeah. Oh, hungry.
Just for the record, I think only a few seconds after Remy actually leaves, Mael will stand up without saying a single word, take a few steps towards like the exit where he went, and then just mutter after her to Lucretia, be like, I'm gonna go watch all of the things that are happening.
She'll have her fan out as she has immediately sat down. She like organizes her dress and she says, "Of course, my dear, have fun. I will be here."
That's 2 successes for Remy on that.
Mm. With 2 successes, you know this place extraordinarily well. So it's easy to find someone who, a sort of a young man in the prime of his life, physically, who, like many of the others here, they sort of all blur into one, perhaps as a result of your hunger, or as a result of everything that's happened up until this point. Sort of lying on the ground, it looks as though he was on a couch maybe half an hour ago, but has sort of slipped unconsciously from it, kind of sprawled out on the ground. His pantaloons, this sort of I guess almost noble garb that he is wearing, kind of disheveled and disregarded, in I guess for the experiences that he is very currently and obviously enraptured by currently. He sort of stares up at the roof, the ceiling. Is there any engravings, paintings, anything that sort of are embellished on the ceiling, or is it plain?
No, the ceiling is definitely embellished, as most things. I mean, the majority of this room, rather than being like ornate and baroque kind of in the way that the upstairs is, this is more like there are wall hangings and then paintings, mostly muted tones, meant to be deeply sensory but not overstimulating.
Yeah.
So it's like you come to them and enjoy them as opposed to they assault your eyes. The ceiling would have a number of paintings, so a sort of in really bold colors to stand out in the dim light. There are these kind of like dark parodies of biblical imagery.
Yeah.
So like a sort of the awakening of Adam, like Michelangelo type thing, except both of the faces are sort of mildly or like not mildly, they're like extra. They're like really vivid, eyes too big, and like bright shocks of hair and like slightly too sharp teeth.
Yeah.
These kind of not quite right iconic images.
Yeah, wonderful. And the way his eyes sort of flit between all of them in a pattern seems to imply that he is sensing some kind of activity or motion or narrative in what he's seeing, or at least imagining it in his own interpretation, completely blissfully unaware of everything else that is, outside of himself. This is the person you hone in on.
Yeah, that's A+. We're gonna have a taste of that. Whatever's going on there.
Certainly. I will get you to make actually you probably don't even need to make a bite check because he is so, as I said, unconscious to everything outside of him currently, completely existing within himself. So, how much do you take from him? I will ask.
I'd like to remove 2 hunger.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do so safely, though he will be unable to be fed from for quite some time afterwards, as 2 is getting up there.
Sure.
And you're on 3 hunger, so you don't need to make any frenzy checks or anything. Teetering on the edge, but you're able to rein the beast in as you take this.
This is a gamble, but I would also like to use Elysian Eye.
Great.
And it says I can see. I do need to make a rouse check, so I might
Yes,
work
thank
through one
you.
of these bits. But it says that I can see the dreams of a sleeping vampire immortal without having to make a roll. But yeah, I'm gonna give that a go. See rouse check.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm getting one of those hunger back.
Always the way.
I gotta know.
Okay. Interesting. He's sort of, and this is the one that you can tell whether it's been tampered with or modified or anything like that, though not the details of the changes. Yeah. None or wits auspex versus composure subterfuge. So I'm assuming you're just trying to. Oh no, he's not awake or conscious, so you don't need to roll or anything. Okay, that makes sense.
The dream.
Yeah, certainly. Cool. So it's interesting when you glimpse into his dreams. You've probably seen this man here before on multiple occasions, as you do need express sort of permission to enter into this particular establishment. He is dreaming as though he is running through an open field during a warm summer's day. The smell of grass, of the trees sort of that seem to encompass on all sides the field across which he is running. Passing animals, passing other people along the way. All of them seem to be dressed rustically, as though he is imagining himself in a time that is far, far removed in the past from where we are today. And when he approaches the edge of this particular field, large, dark trees loom ahead. And it's a strange mental block that he seems to have. You know, when you are trying not to think about something and you constantly do, or you try to shift your attention away from a particular topic and it's just impossible. His mind seems to be trapping him inside of this warm clearing. And when he tries to venture forth into this dark wood beyond, it's as though he can't. He always turns around, looks the other way, turns back, tries again, and seems stuck in a kind of eternal stagnation, at least for the moment, and watching everything else move around him from what he can see. He wants to venture into this unknown space beyond, but is sort of caught in stagnation in this moment.
Okay.
You will gain the phlegmatic resonance for the rest of the night because of this stagnation you sort of consciously feel. And you can tell that there is something else that's stopping him from being able to move on. He wants to, but a foreign presence is telling him no.
Huh. Okay. So I need to rewind a second because I got the power I wanted to use wrong.
Oh,
That won't
did you?
affect it won't affect anything that you've just done. But I
Okay,
just
good.
realized what I wanted to do was River of Dreams.
Okay, great.
It's so similar to this Auspex power. It's the obfuscate version.
Yeah.
But this one actually, so it doesn't require a rouse check. This is the one I was thinking of. It says the vampire can briefly enter a mortal's dream while feeding on them. And it
Okay,
also
perfect.
allows them the ability to communicate with them covertly or experience the dream as a direct bystander, which is what just happened. And it also says most mortals will have no memory of this unless the vampire goes out of their way to make an impression.
Yes.
Some vampires even use the power to hide messages in the dream.
Lovely.
So all of that the same. What I want to do, noticing this sort of foreign presence and this like stagnation, what I want to do is just like be a whisper on the wind, like in this otherwise stagnant place.
Yeah.
To kind of like make the hair on the back of his neck stand up a bit. And just say, to clear the brush, you can be the blade. And then I'll sort of disappear from the dream.
Certainly. As I said, you gain the phlegmatic resonance, either until, you run out of blood or you feed again on something else, essentially.
Cool.
While you're doing that, Mael, is there anything you are looking for in particular here, or are you just taking in the atmosphere?
Mael basically walks until she's in like the door opening towards this bigger room where all of the different people are taking drugs, and she's gonna just lean against the doorway, hands behind her back, briefly watching everything, but then specifically watching Remy and what he's doing, because in her mind he is right now in this moment enjoying the taste of his freedom, and she just watches, not really looking for anything.
Yeah, you see him feed in the way that he does, sort of encompassing himself in whatever experiences his victim is sort of enraptured within. It's all over very quickly, but you have an idea of the depths to which Remy can sort of go when engaging in such a thing. And to him, you know that it is freedom and power and knowledge. And you are aware acutely, revoltingly, of the thing that nags at you, passively, sometimes more actively, that doesn't quite allow you to experience the same euphoria or freedom or ability to stretch yourself as wide or as far as you wish to go. There's something keeping you down, and watching him display the opposite makes you very aware of the fact that there is this something that is still there.
I think besides from a clenching of the jaw, she won't really show anything, and she'll just wait.
While you're doing that, Lucretia, you sit alone in this room, alone for the first time since the very beginning of the night. What's running through your head currently?
I think right now Lucretia knows that she is in a very, very dangerous position right now. She is in a Sabbat haven right now. Even if it is Remy, she is, and the two of them are like conversing in a friendly way. They are unaligned. There is no Voldry that binds them, and she is a Camarilla, which is being hunted right now, and she's been hunted since this whole revolution began. So she's just staying very aloof, looks very aloof. She's just looking if anybody like passes by the open door, if Mael didn't close it behind her. She just gives like a little wave, sits down. She adjusts her dress. She makes sure that her super expensive shoes aren't seen underneath her dress. She double checks her pockets and stuff like that. Probably deliberately. Is there like excess fabric inside these like rooms?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
we're in an office right
Oh,
now.
right. I don't know. What does the office look like?
I would say office is a strong word. If there's a formal office, it's more likely to be upstairs. This is just more like a quiet space. It's got a kind of nice-ish table, a kind of desk with a chair behind it that presumably Remy would sit in, and then there's a few
Yeah.
other chairs scattered around the place. There is actually one painting in the room, which is kind of just dark water, um, but in lots of different shades of kind of purple and blue and black and gray, sort of muddled and meshing with odd shapes within it.
I think she's checking her pockets, and kind of just reminding herself because I don't think she's actually been out in a moment. She needs to stuff them with more fabric next time she goes out because she remembers seeing the women in the street with their very full disposable pockets, and she's like, right, next time I need to make sure that I stuff these fuller so that I fit in more. But I think after that little like, okay, no one's coming into this office, mail's outside. Um, she tries to ignore the raw terror in her beast telling her that she is in danger, the fact that she is even hoping to talk about what they're about to talk about. And she is like, "Ooh, purple, blue, green." She just stares at that water painting like, fuck, fuck, fuck,
Mhm.
fuck, 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 fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. An apt response, and the painting offers both a calming sensation and also an inevitability of danger and the
Reminder.
concept of something lurking very close by but impossible yet to see. You all reconvene back in the office after feeding, after Maëlle has a moment to reflect on her own situation.
Do you think Mael would let Remy see him? Or is it a
Yeah,
more thing?
absolutely. She would be
Yeah.
standing there, and when he finishes, she'll just stand there and wait. And only after he would enter, she would follow. She wouldn't leave before him.
Sure. All right. Remy will just smile and then walk by. Into the
Would
room
you
again.
come back in just be like, this is a beautiful painting, Remy. Very nice.
Ah, I did not think it would be to your taste.
Oh, the colors, their representation of your belief in arts. Lovely.
Well, thank you. It is a favorite of mine for many
Sure.
reasons. And then I'll close the door and then just go and take a seat behind the desk. Sort
What
of
did
gesture
you
of
find
nature.
out, Maya?
And I find what?
You went for the look. Did you find anything of note?
No, I just want to watch.
Ah, lovely.
Seems I am a spectacle wherever I go.
Of course, Remy.
Now,
Don't get ahead of yourself. You're just as interesting as any other mortal there would be.
well then, you say, if you wish to be interesting, be interested. You are very interesting, Mael, always. That must be why. We are in a situation.
Indeed, very scary situation.
Hmm.
Great danger for all of us.
I appreciate that both of you are taking a risk in coming here. And that we must all, I'm afraid, become used to taking risks together again.
Just like
Not
old
the burst.
times.
Yeah, well, not to burst the bubble here, but At least for me, coming here is as much a risk as just walking out into the streets openly.
You see? Always so interesting. No, I only rarely fear for your safety, Mael. You are more than competent to defend yourself. What I mean is that this is a time where information is as dangerous as fang or stake, or even flame. And if word about our renewed association gets out, well, that will certainly make lives interesting. Um, but what we should discuss is how we intend to approach this meeting when it arises in our, what was it, Mademoiselle Morel invites us to meet our interested third party, how we will approach it.
I feel the more important task may be to organize or perhaps discuss how we are to handle the mission we have been. Seems you have more information than we do. It has been years since we were in this spot. What is the current situation around Maximilian's pack?
Well, you were present for the grand speech. I believe that is an adequate painting of the picture that is the grand church these nights.
So the Archbishop, the Saint Just, Robespierre, and is there another?
Hmm. Perhaps.
Remy would know. Two others. Georges Couton, an art critic who frequents your theatre on occasion,
Mhm.
and Francois Honriot,
Francois,
who
the hype
is that.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, there are two others, Georges and Francois.
See,
Not all of them, I would say, of identical disposition, but few, I would say, with more zeal than Saint Just. That is one that
that
we
I
must.
could tell.
That is one that we must watch carefully, or, well, hopefully, not have to until the time is right.
You are the purveyor of our Valdery. Would you be perchance able to undo the Valdery of the pack, as ours was undone?
To undo. To undo the Vauldery is no trivial thing. With our situation, you must understand we were somewhat unique among packs. You know, most never get the option to walk away. That is exceedingly rare. Most are pruned.
Of course.
But like any relationship, the Vauldery is one that must be renewed. Yeah?
I see.
So one may delay this renewal sufficiently and allow the withdrawals to complete, and the intoxication subsides, as indeed doth
Yeah.
the hunger for it.
Yes, but we don't have months to wait.
No, of course we do not. That is why I must say that though there may be means of artificially curtailing that relation, obstructing that right, it is, I believe, a power beyond myself, though I am not certain that there are not those who could assist in such an endeavor.
Perhaps we can look into that, as I believe if we remove the Valdery around them, their connections will weaken. They will question Maximilian on his beliefs, easier to slip into the gaps.
Indeed. Indeed. Um, would Remy know anyone sufficiently powerful and knowledgeable in that pursuit?
Or
Mm.
Lucretia.
Good question. I'm going to get you all to make checks. I'm going to get Remy to make an intelligence investigation. I'm going to get Lucretia to make an intelligence politics.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get Mael to make an intelligence investigation as well.
Okay. Going to.
4.
No, I'm not. I'm just gonna give it a go with what I got. It's one success for Remy.
Mm.
Come on, Pack Priest.
It's, I get by on charm.
Remy, you have your haven, you have your establishment, you have your circle of influence. And when it comes to these kinds of things, maybe you even prefer to remain unversed. At least in this particular figure, I would say. Lucretia, did you say you got 4 successes?
4, yes.
Great. So Remy, essentially nothing comes to mind straight away in this instance. Lucretia, with 4 successes, you actually recall this in a very different way since you rolled politics.
Yes.
You think about the sort of trajectory of the revolution and how it's radicalized over time, and how the Sabbat have sort of taken the reins from the Anarchs in the revolution over its sort of course from when it happened to the state that it's in now, to say the least. And one of the biggest parts of the Sabbat's sort of iron grip over France as a whole, not even just Paris, was their ability to solidify patriotism and this sort of republican spirit by forcing the country to go to war against Austria, against, Prussia, and even against the other cities in France that weren't so hot on the whole revolution thing. You know that one of the key figures that was sent out as a representative on mission to these other cities in France to quell anti-revolutionary activity is a Banu Hakim by the name of Jacques Nicolas Bilaud Varenne. A very long name.
Jacques. What?
Jacques Nicolas Bilaud Varenne. I'll write it down for you in the break. Bilaud Varenne is his surname.
Okay. Wrote that down phonetically.
Yeah, that's fine. You know that he is a Sabbat, Banu Hakim, and probably one of the most significant of the Templars in the Sabbat in terms of his sort of, he has a role in enforcing Sabbat law, essentially, and has even before the revolution was a thing. But you recognize him because of his involvement in all of these sort of quelling the anti-revolutionary movements and stuff.
Big movements, big important person.
Yeah.
And Banu Hakim.
That's right. Exactly. Mael, with your investigative check with 3 successes, you also come to the name Jacques Nicolas Bilaud Varenne as this Templar, this Banu Hakim Templar. You would recognize this name because of his involvement in the Sabbat Inquisition in Paris, more sort of directly, as perhaps your sire, Caius, would have had some semblance of involvement in the Sabbat Inquisition, or perhaps even talked about them somewhat. You know of their aim, their mission statement, and their purpose in enforcing the Book of Nod and all that it represents, and making sure that the Sabbat follow it properly and to an orthodox sort of manner. You would have heard this name because of his position within the Sabbat ranks. You know of his prowess with blood sorcery and also his ability for leadership. You probably also know that he is a somewhat elusive figure, as a lot of Banu Hakim tend to be. Difficult to find, unless he wants to be found.
Well, off the top of my head, I can think of the Banu Hakim, one of the Templar, uh, Monsieur Bilaud Ville. No, anyway. He is a figure of some import, and being the position he was in, he must have some kind of rite or blood sorcery that could assist in breaking this Valkyrie early.
Some
Ha-
import is taking it lightly, isn't it?
Is this a
You
name
could-
I would recognize having heard it? Like, be familiar with now, being reminded? Or is it
You
unfamiliar to me?
certainly would have heard the name. Yes, he, as a former and current pack priest, Remy, you would sort of recognize the name as somebody that does a lot of enforcement of Volderies and such. Once you hear the name, he's sort of elusive, so it's easy to forget about him. But if there's a problem with a Voldery, he is often there to try and rectify it. He has a great understanding of the Sabbat rights and such, of like this kind of thing.
Well then, if this is a good idea, as good as we can hope to afford, but not an easy one. It is in its way perfect and therefore difficult.
It is a misstep in the plan as well. Removing this Valkyrie will weaken bonds, but it will not break them. They have done so much together that interpersonal relationships alone will keep them together somewhat.
We must be able to convince Monsieur Bilaud de Rennes that this can be accomplished without terminal danger to his person.
But even if the Valkyrie in that pack can be broken, I mean, what's to say that they suddenly don't support Robespierre's beliefs anymore? We might as well just go to other Sabbat members, and try to convince them. See what I mean. I'm sure there are some in the ranks that don't support his beliefs.
Yes.
The risk involved in voicing that opinion is risky.
Anyone who wishes to rise in esteem with any member of that pack would have the easy option of turning informant against us. But I will admit the prospect of picking individuals of the pack off one by one is easier, perhaps, than doing something that could result in the total wrath of all of them at once.
Yes. It is quite a risk, certainly having the Archbishop part of this pack also makes it quite difficult.
The main concern, perhaps the best point of entry here, is that as a Templar, Monsieur Varenne, the Voldery is a sacred thing. If he can be convinced that what Robespierre is doing is an abuse of that privilege and that sacred right, then he can hardly be said to deserve it.
Hmm. Cool.
You must understand, this needs to be a judgment that Monsieur Varenne would pass of his own accord. He just needs to be directed towards it.
Of course. Seems that we may be able to pick at rumors that spread of these people, see where their weakness lies, where there are fractures, but it is difficult to do. The other option is to, by all means, just find Maximilian while he is alone, dispatch of him. I'm sure he spends a great deal of time alone.
While more direct, certainly, and perhaps uh, perhaps in some ways the most peaceful resolution. And we could hope that once slain, the power of the Volderi will, or the power of his influence over them would be less.
Look,
His
look.
portion of the connection.
As much as I don't doubt that all of you are still as strong as you were 5 years ago, I don't think if taking out Maximilian was such an easy task, it would have already been done. I mean,
Just,
sure, he can be alone, but being alone surrounded by a dozen of lines and ranks isn't really that alone.
Indeed. And to Miles' point, we can presume whoever is orchestrating this is a singularly powerful kindred, or at least someone who has adopted a convincing guise thereof. Obviously, we are, at the moment, tools. If we are to extricate ourselves from that position, we need information. But I do think that of all the connections we could form to begin a turn of this tide against Robespierre, the voices we need on our party are the zealots. Just understand there is as they say, no ardor like that of no zeal like that of the converted, yes, but also no fury like that of the zealots who feels as though their orthodoxy has been challenged. If we
Yes.
can convince the Ren that what Robespierre is doing is a corruption
Mm.
of the will of Cain, a gross parody.
Yes. He is. Yeah. That is certainly an angle to push, investigate, find a way to spin it. Yes.
There is no doubt that Robespierre began this journey with noble intentions, and no one can contest his power and the authority of
I,
his voice.
all means, their revolution was supported by a great many people.
Indeed,
And
and
now there
remains
are
so.
those who wish to remove it now, which was not so much before.
Lucretia, if asked, do you think you could convincingly, as you were on the streets en route here, do you think you could convincingly suggest that you believe in the purity of the revolution that was, and that you are disgusted for more than sectarian reasons by the turn it has taken?
I, hmm. I was at the Women's March. I believe in the things that they fight for. I do not like the masculine angle that this revolution has taken, and hence into this rampage of anger and rage that it has become. But I can stand by the current force of it. I can convince the people around me that this Church of Reason is worthwhile, believable.
The reason I ask is that there needs to be a real reason that the three of us ever have conversations with any of these people. They need to believe that we have overcome obvious differences for something that is truly dark, truly a threat to
Hmm.
more than just the Camarilla or the Sabbat or whatever remains of the Anarch movement. My apologies, Mael.
some
But
large belief. Like I had said in the club, it is a revolution within the revolution. If I could stand by the beginning of the first one, why not the second?
the reason, again, that I ask is that as a master of the rite of our sect, Monsieur Varen will likely be able to know whether or not we are bound by the Voldery ourselves.
You want to front as if we are the same pack as we were before.
I want us to be able to answer the question. Because a member of the Sabbat may be inclined to see this as a masterful move on that strange Malkavian's part to reintroduce a wayward Camarilla and create a mole within their movement, but to be tied once more to them, to resharpen the sword of Cain. You understand.
Yes, I see what you're saying. That is quite a difficult one. I imagine that.
You
Hmm.
want to convince a Templar that we want to go back to the Sabbat.
I want to know if you could play that role, if asked.
Certainly, convincingly. We were bonded once, and it wore off. Even if we are bonded for that short time, it will wear off again.
I believe that is a ruse that could work for you, Lucretia. Mael, I'm not so sure.
You are quite steadfast in everything that you believe in. You're not like taking options, merely refusing them.
Yeah, well, some steadfastness is needed sometimes.
Mm.
Certainly.
I'm willing to try up until a certain point.
Drinking from the cup, for example.
Drinking some blood doesn't mean anything. It's just there is a certain limit. I went over it in the past centuries just fine, but I don't want to again. Not
Hmm.
while I finally got away from it. I'm not gonna make any promises, but note this. It's in my best interest for all of this to work out.
There's that phrase again.
Mm.
I keep hearing it tonight.
Yes, very much so.
You
But
and us
since
both.
we are in agreement on this,
Very well. We must also be able to think ahead. Let us, for the moment, presume that we are successful in winning some allies amongst my sect. We must certainly hope to do the same, or at least it seems our interested party believes we will have to do the same with our Camarilla fellows, and perhaps Anarchs as well. The
I
real challenge
imagine.
is succeeding in one step and then not letting that success be in the way of steps
Of
2
the
and
other.
3.
Yes, indeed, indeed. I am sure the Anarchs are more than willing to help, though, of course, there's a risk involved.
I'm sure that what's left of us would be willing to fight one more time if it's somewhat clear that a success may be at hand. I'm not going to lead people into final death just for a flaunt.
Hmm.
But I have some ears there, and I'm sure we could talk about it.
What I would want to be able to offer them after we have some assurances from the Sabbat, what I would want to be able to offer them is the opportunity to take the same field as the sword, and at least momentarily, not be turned upon in the aftermath. A limited
Seems fair.
engagement. If the Anarchs believe that Paris is a better Paris without Robespierre, then perhaps that is something that we can agree upon. To be frank, what I said before about his cult being a perversion, I believe that. That is not something I have been able to say out loud.
There is a knock at the door of the office.
Moment. Just gonna walk over to that door, regretting having said that out loud, and then
Just as you said that, you're all
Yeah,
open it.
just for the record, when you do that, I think Mael would scoot back, and like behind Lucretia's back and blend into the walls there.
Mm-hmm.
Cloak of Shadows.
Yes, definitely.
A free action. No need to rouse for it.
Mm-hmm.
Who is behind door number 1?
It's Eleanor.
Oh, when you scoot back, I activate door, just so that if it's a civilian, a human,
Civilian.
please, they won't be able to look at me. So that's kind of just my assurance. So.
Yep. No, Eleanor has eyes only for Remy. She doesn't like peer into the room or anything. She is quite focused on you. She says, Remy, sorry to interrupt. The performance went very well, by the way.
I can tell.
Yes.
I did not want to interrupt. Dear Willem seemed to be basking in the glory of it all.
He was a little bit, as you can imagine. His makeover for this role has gone splendidly. In any case, I don't usually like to come down here and interrupt your business, but Monsieur Couton is upstairs. He wishes to speak with you.
I see. Thank you.
He seems
I shall...
quite
Yes.
adamant. I'm not sure the business.
How very interesting. Well,
My thoughts.
a show after the show, I'm sure. Thank you.
Seems as
I
though.
shall... Yes. Keep an eye. But I'm sure it's nothing.
I'm sure. A wonderful show. It'll be good when you get to see it. I'm sure you'll think it's marvelous.
Indeed. I must say, it perturbs me to have missed it. I will be sure to see the next one.
It'll only improve, I'm sure.
But of course.
I'll leave you to it. He is just waiting in the bar currently.
Ah, yes, well. There is a limit to how long any audience is willing to wait. I shall be up momentarily.
No problem. And she leaves before you.
Gonna turn around.
Lucretia has like such a big smile on her face.
Quite a secretary you have there.
Do not let her hear you refer to her that way. I'm gonna close the door mostly behind me and say, well, since we were just speaking of Monsieur Robespierre's pack, one of them is here.
Monsieur
Couton.
Georges Couton.
Yes. Georges has been here before. However, it is probably best, for the moment, for the two of you not to make his acquaintance.
No. I
Oh
agree.
no, the first thing I wanted to do was walk up to the spot and say, hey, back again.
Yes, well, I shall go and hope to make this business as short as possible. Enjoy each other's company.
Of course. Impossible not to. Have fun.
Very well. And I'm gonna go out and close the door and then dance on up those spiral stairs.
Is there a desk in here? Or is
There
it just
is,
chairs?
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
The minute you leave, she stands up and starts going through the doors.
Mhm.
Lovely. We'll cross first to Remy. As you go up the stairs, just as Eleanor said, in the bar, which is still frequented by quite a few people, mostly people as stragglers, still talking and drinking. Most of the officials involved in the production aren't here anymore. They've gone their separate ways, gone home, gone backstage, such and such. But yes, sort of off to one side, in this sort of grand wooden wheelchair, with a sort of plush back to it. Watching, observing the frivolities of the people who are still hanging around in the bar is Georges Couthon, a sort of mild expression on his face as he sort of takes in the joviality of the atmosphere, and seems to kind of bask in its pleasantness, I suppose.
Monsieur Couton, it is a pleasure to see you again, and so soon after our last meeting.
Indeed, I was about to say it's not often we get to speak one-on-one like this, so it's quite a pleasure to get the opportunity to do so more regularly than otherwise. How are you, my boy?
Well, I would say I am refreshed and uh, at ease.
That is good to hear. I am taking it. The play went well then. I am sorry to say that I missed it this night. Business calling, you see.
A kind apology. I would pass it on to our star. We'll have to make introductions at some point, but
I'd
it
be
was an
delighted.
astonishing debut, so I'm told.
I am extraordinarily glad to hear it. I'm always so very enthralled by the unique flavor of production you put on here, so I would
Well,
at some stage love to bear witness to it, I suppose.
I'm sure you would find it unique to say the least. And I should say, it is due in no small part to the actions of you and yours that such spectacles may now, I should say, grace our streets.
I'm only happy that our work can be of service to the members of our community and those who uphold such incredible ideas and interpretations of the ideas we hold so dear, my boy. The pleasure is
So
mine.
dear indeed. Well, and elevated ideas they are upon mountainous heaps of truth, as we have recently borne witness to. Is there some great affair of state that I can be of service with? Or are you here for purely pleasant conversation?
I hesitate to dampen such a wondrously triumphant night with the nature of my business, my boy, but I have received a report of young Sebastian, the other member of your pack.
Yes.
We have not seen him this night or the previous. It appears he has gone missing.
I see.
Troubling news, unfortunately.
To say the least. I have not seen him.
Wanted to ask, have you felt any disturbances in your bond with him of any kind?
No. No, thankfully. Otherwise, I suspect you should not have found me here.
I
Thank
suspect
you.
not.
But I am, of course, curious, grateful as I am for this intelligence and do intend to act upon it. I do wonder how it came across your notice.
An anonymous report, strangely enough. I do not get many of them. This one, however, somehow found its way to me.
That is very strange.
Ever more disturbing, my boy.
And
Well,
without an overt threat, only that he is missing.
only that he is missing. If there is no disturbances in the Voldery, we can assume he is still among us, at least, and still one of yours.
Yes, quite. I'm afraid I must set about the business of finding him.
I am occupied by the same manner of business. If you would, permit me to peruse your establishment for anything that may pertain to his whereabouts. I do not wish to disrupt any of your own business. In the meantime, if I can find any clues here, it will be of most use to both of us.
As a quick pause, is this something that Kuthon would do? Is this like he's taking a very intense interest in like a member of my pack and like Sherlock Holmesing it? Could I maybe? Does this seem like genuine concern for Sebastian, or I don't know? I'm getting the vibe that maybe he's like trying to see things or like trying to scope the place out as opposed to doing that.
Good question. I'll get a wits insight check from you. If you have a specialty in motives, then you can add that.
Don't have that. Just the raw stuff. That is 3 successes.
3 successes. Perfect. He, especially now, ever since he put forth the law of 22 Praeral, the one he told you about during the festival, is uniquely interested in the comings and goings of all members of his sect, mostly to make sure they're all safe in regards to the revolutionary process, but also to make sure that they are towing Robespierre's line correctly. So it's a mixture of, you know, both things. But you can tell with the amount of successes you get that he is being genuine about Sebastian having been missing from here for the past 2 nights.
So it could read as like defection, as like
it could read as,
especially after the big speech, Sebastian went, "Oh, I'm out. I actually don't believe in this stuff," and he's like, "I'm gonna figure out if this runs thick through your pack."
Yes, but in answer to your question, it is usual for him to take an active role in these types of affairs, and he's here alone as well. He's not here with anybody else. He hasn't brought any ghouls or anything with him. It's just him.
Right. Is Eleanor up here?
She's not in the bar.
Okay. Yeah. Then I will say you are, as always, welcome in my home. I wish I could say that some great sign had revealed itself to me. To I am a purveyor of signs, but perhaps you can see what I cannot.
I doubt that, but a fresh perspective may be useful in a different way. I appreciate your hospitality.
Always. And then Remy will kind of bow and then say, I will check on the rest of my pack in light of this intelligence.
Of course, a most intelligent notion. I'm sorry again to dampen the triumph of this night for you. I hope it resolves itself quickly and you may bask in it with equal and greater fervor.
My dear George, the truth, no matter how dark, is always preferable to obscurity.
Well said.
Right. Then Remy will move across the room away from the conversation and probably head back downstairs with the dual goal of either seeing Eleanor and asking her what's up and giving a heads up to buddies in the office that there may be a visitor.
Yeah, certainly. Before we shift over to that and shift over to Mael and Lucretia in the room waiting, we will take this opportunity to take a break for 10 minutes or so, refresh ourselves, and prepare for things slowly starting to ramp up just a teensy tiny bit. So thank you everybody so much for watching so far, and we will be back soon. Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around. And let's just get right back into the action. So we left off with Remy having a conversation with Georges Couton, one of the lieutenants and packmates of Maximilien Robespierre. He is to be looking around the Les Bons Diables in search for clues on where Remy's missing packmate Sebastian could have gone. He has been missing for the past 2 days. 2 nights, I should say. Remy, you make your way tentatively in the direction back down towards Les Oubliettes and where Maëlle and Lucretia are waiting for you. And you wish to pass by or search around for Eleanor before you make your way down.
Yeah, if I see Eleanor, I want to speak with her. But if I don't, I will go straight to the other two to warn them what might be coming.
Yeah, certainly. If you sort of make your way around the back, she is sort of backstage, kind of ordering the people around, making sure they're doing their jobs properly, making sure they clean up properly and get everything in place for the matinee session tomorrow.
All right. I want to just kind of catch her eye uh, in the serious business kind of
Right.
attitude.
Mm-hmm. She would recognize this, especially since you share a bond. She points towards a back door. There's just a storeroom back there.
I'll meet her there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she sort of opens the door for you and closes it behind you. Leans up against it, so nobody can come in.
Mm.
Everything all right?
I'm afraid not.
Thought as much.
Do you know anything about where Sebastian has been spending his time the past 2 nights?
No idea. He admittedly seemed paranoid when I last saw him a couple of nights ago, but I haven't seen him since. However,
What do
I
you
don't
mean?
feel a change in the bond or anything, so I just assumed he
Nor
was
do
out
I.
there. Yes,
Georges Couthon has noticed his absence and is here.
I see. Investigating it, I assume.
Indeed.
Is that bad news or is that okay?
I hope it is simply news, but you say that he seemed paranoid. Do you recall anything of significance? What could be causing it? How was he acting?
Simply worried about. He mentioned thinking he was being followed by somebody. I told him he was being silly and that he can easily defend himself. You and I both know that well.
Indeed.
But fell on deaf ears, so to speak. And if Couton has managed to grasp the notion of him going missing, then doesn't bode well. Maybe he was genuine in his concerns.
Yes. Now I am beginning to think that the threat was obviously warranted.
Mm.
Thank you for this. Well, hopefully with Georges' help, if
Hopefully.
there is a problem, we can resolve it.
Remy, do you have anything here that you don't want Monsieur Couton to see?
There is a bit of business downstairs I wish to dispatch of before he makes his way there.
Mm.
Perhaps you could tell him what you told me.
I shall. I'm sure he'll appreciate it in any case.
And thank you. I'll get his attention as we walk out and possibly join you soon. But if not, I'll see you soon in any case.
Yes, very well. I'll be able to distract him for a little bit, but I'm afraid he seems to not think much of young ones unless they are miraculously missing.
Yes, well, to him always I am my boy.
Mm.
If you can believe that. So don't take it too much to heart.
I see.
And don't get any ideas. And and then I'll go to open. I know she's standing up against the door, but I'll like lean forward and grab the knob and start to turn it.
Yeah, she'll get out of the way.
Yeah. All right. Then I'll walk out with her and then see if I can make eye contact with Georges in the main floor.
Easy
He's
enough to
still
do.
there.
Yeah.
Okay. I will wave to him and sort of put my hand on Eleanor's back and sort of gesture her towards him.
Yeah.
And give one of these like just a moment sort of things, and then go downstairs.
Yeah, you actually see him wheel his way himself over to where she is, actively. So while this is
and if I
can,
I realize I'm under the influence a little bit, but I want to give the appearance of being flustered and going to take care of something rapidly. Like I want that to show.
Okay.
On his face, like he's concerned.
Interesting.
About this.
In that case, I will get a manipulation performance roll from you. Not your public speaking specialty, but
Sure.
yet, yeah.
I must find young Sebastian.
Mon Dieu.
In these nights of great revolution, it is together that we must. What is he talking about? Slurring his words.
That's 4 successes.
Great. An excellent job. I'm going to roll on his
contested
behalf.
roll.
As far as you're concerned, he sort of gives you a nod, frowning a little in earnest. Difficult to tell whether or not he buys your act or anything like that. Or, perhaps you are probably concerned to a certain extent as well, so.
Yeah, the idea was I want him to see that and to presume that's why I'm leaving to go downstairs right now to check on things and sending Eleanor to him instead of coming up and talking with Eleanor with him.
Yeah, perfect. From as far as you can see, he seems to understand well enough your display and what you are putting forth.
Okay.
While that is happening, we shift downstairs to where Lucretia and Mael are still in the office. Lucretia, you're rifling through the desk drawers at Remy's desk. What does he find? What does Remy have in his desk that Lucretia finds?
And I've got heightened senses like my eyes and shit to be like, where are the little cracks? Where are the...
Or are they all locked?
I would say some of the drawers on this desk are open, and they've got your basic odds and ends, stationary type stuff. I wouldn't say overly organized looking or neatly arranged necessarily. This also isn't like the place where normal business stuff is happening, so it's not quite as stocked. There is one drawer on the bottom left that is locked.
Oh god, no, that's can I try to unlock it?
Yeah, dexterity larceny.
God. Yeah, she'll just be like probably reaching for like, I don't know, bobby pins even exist.
Yeah, well, pins of some description.
Well, yeah, like some kind of pin from probably her clothing. And
When
that is
Lucretia...
Sorry, go on.
Oh, when Lucretia is doing that, Mael will be pacing the office, and if she notices that she's like fumbling with something because she found something that like is probably locked away or something, she'll just absentmindedly say, "I won't tell him anything about this if you also just share the information you find."
Of course, we are in a team, of course. The other drawers are full of stationery, odds and ends. This is not quite, I don't think, the place where he does any real business. But, and she's picking this lock, and just being like, so we will see what is locked away here, hopefully.
How many successes?
3.
I'm looking
Do
for
I need
4.
Okay, cool. I'll rouse the blood. There's people to eat. Yeah, that bumps it to 5.
Oh, okay. What's in the locked drawer?
Okay. In the locked drawer, there are a few things by themselves in a drawer that's too big for them. There is a small leather-bound copy of a Bible, and there are a few sheafs of paper sort of bound together, which are covered in like margin to margin, quite small script, not very neatly written, of just paragraphs and paragraphs of entries. Some of them dated, some of them not. They are like, if you're taking time to read through them, they would be like descriptions of like really wild, phantasmic images, sort of like natural imagery, strange creatures with shifting faces. There are records of
Dreams.
dreams. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Bible is also like heavily annotated and like underlined and circled and things like that
For
all the way
anything in
through.
particular, or just grammar? Should be a
No,
comma here.
no, it's more. It's got the energy of like patterns, like looking
Got it.
circling
Yeah.
certain names, making kind of like symbols in the margins to refer to things.
Yeah.
Especially heavy in a couple of areas, right? Like Genesis, very heavily annotated,
Yeah.
and Revelation as well, but less so.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably just a very quick flip through heightened senses just to catch any of it. And knowing Remy and seeing the dreams and stuff, she'd put it back, close the drawer. I don't think locks are special enough to lock this again.
Definitely
So,
not.
yeah, she's totally fine with him realizing that that's unlocked. It seems that Monsieur Remy has been recording some of the dreams he has and or sees of others, and a Bible heavily annotated. So very much him.
Nothing to surprise or anything.
No, not really. She'll return back to her seat, sit down. Um,
Do you think
um,
he's all right up there?
oh, Monsieur Remy can handle himself. This is his business after all, his domain. I'm sure that he can handle himself.
Yes, but even if people are sometimes in their domain and doing their business, things can go wrong.
Are you concerned for him?
I wouldn't say concerned because, as you said, he's probably most capable of handling himself. I'm just curious.
I am also curious, Mael. How have you been? You have said multiple times now that the streets are quite dangerous for you. And
Yes, because every anarch that is seen is put on the chopping block.
yes,
Escape points,
and
you know?
Camarilla. Yeah, you know. It is quite straining to live like that. I am concerned for you. Are you okay?
It's no more straining than any of the previous centuries were, really. Just different kind of strain.
Yes. You mentioned in the club that you feel bound still to something. Is it to the Anarchs? What is it to? Do you know?
If you would have listened in the club, I would have already said that if I knew, I would have probably already tried to free myself from it.
So, but do you know what it is? It a blood bond? Another kind of Voldering?
Again, blood doesn't do anything, and again, if I knew, I would have already tried to free myself.
I see. That is quite concerning. That must be very uh, distressing.
At that moment, she will stop pacing and just turn to Lucretia and say, "Look, I don't need pity.
I
Really.
don't pity you at all.
It sure does sound like you do. And
No.
concern comes very close to pity.
Oh, I see how it might be seen that way. Uh, more
For
a
one who would know the consequences of their words as you do, I would have thought you might have realized that by now.
yes, of course. If I we can get around to the power of words later. My main concern is that I know what it is like to not have control of your life, and it is not pleasant. So if I can extricate you from that situation, all the better.
I don't want to do something like brainwash my sire until there's nothing left but a husk and put in something new just to find that freedom.
I see. So what are you willing to do? Yeah,
Whatever in the moment seems right to do.
I see.
But I'm not gonna leave behind my morals, which I do have.
What are your morals now? They seem to have shifted. Before, when we were in a pack, you were different.
Yeah, well, you do things when you're not in control, don't we?
You are still not in control.
Being in control and having freedom are two different things. I'm in control. I'm not free. There's a
I
difference.
see. With this control you have now, where have your morals aligned?
Look, Lucretia, I really appreciate making small talk, but if there is one person I don't want to talk about with morals right now, it must certainly be you.
Why is that? Why do you think I am some villain to be fought against? We were friends at one point. We
I
believe in the
wouldn't
same
per se
thing.
call us friends. After
I
all, if
would.
you're all put together, forced to be together, is that really friendship?
You quite cling to that ideal.
It is true, I didn't convene with the both of you on my own free will, did I?
You have
Just the
also
same as
said
goes
that
for you, I guess.
you were not in our bond, is what you've said, which is why I am quite confused.
We were bonded together. We did everything together. We were loyal to each other. I mean, but again,
And
that's not on free will. That's not friendship.
what is your opinion of the fact that I stick to my question? What changed after this bond ended? It did not alter me at my base level. I was still myself.
If you want to know, fine.
I do.
Once I left you guys, I could finally think for myself. I didn't just go around murdering people and doing all of these things for some kind of cult that I didn't even believe in. I could do what I wanted to. I could think, I could not just think, I could actually speak what I was thinking. There wasn't anything holding me back. For the first time again, I thought I had found freedom. When I was with you guys, all I felt was something keeping me down and a head pushing me back. You don't know how frustrating it is to have all of these thoughts in your head and not being able to voice them. I could have gone mad if I could have had the choice to. There you go. That's why I don't see us as friends.
See, that is sad, I guess.
Stop it with you.
I don't pity you. I pity the fact that I spent years of my life trying to be kind, trying to care for you, make sure that you weren't sleeping on the ground, wearing filthy clothes, ensuring that you were looked after, got the things you needed. And I did that because my emotions wanted to improve our relationship to the Voldery, but also it's because sometimes when you have the ability to care for others, you should. Because when you leave people who cannot care for themselves, they are taken advantage of.
If you did actually care for me, you would have noticed something. Giving
You never
people pretty
told me.
clothes and a place to sleep. That's the whole point, isn't it, Lucretia? I couldn't tell
Yes.
you!
Ah, there it is. We just need to end the connection or whatever this is, and then you can tell me. right? Because I want to know.
I'm sure you do, as you want to know everything that is happening in the city at every point.
I want to know what you believe in and how hard you're willing to fight for it. Because right now you seem to be a toy.
You want to know what I believe in, yet you don't know what you believe in yourself. You've never done. You will never.
Does that frustrate you? Is this not my freedom to choose not to have an opinion? Is that not freedom?
If you see that as freedom, Lucretia, I am not one to judge, sure.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you.
I'm going to wait outside.
Be safe.
Mael, you step outside for a moment into the main room of the oubliette where Remy fed before he left. Wait a few minutes and... Sorry, go on.
No, I was just... the only thing I said was yes.
Yes.
I do that.
Perfect. And you wait. After a few moments, Remy comes jostling probably down the stairs, looking quite perturbed, I imagine. You were the one to
yes.
see him first.
I'm afraid things have escalated. A moment. I'm gonna gesture for Mael to follow me back into the room where Lucretia is.
She's sitting there just like, oh,
Mhm.
everything went well.
And if Mael follows Remy in there, I'll close the door and say, Georges Couton is here, searching for my packmate, Sebastian, who has been missing and who, it seems, was being followed several days ago. He is investigating the premises, looking for information that might help find his whereabouts, which, no doubt, means that he will make his way down here at some point.
Mm.
Is that a conversation you two are prepared to have? Because if
Um,
not,
Rooms in here. I am sure that I can hide.
if
You
you
won't see
wish,
me.
I hope you are correct, and I do have faith in your abilities, Mael. If you wish to make sure, double sure, there are some heavy damask curtains. You may take on the role of patrons, but I cannot guarantee that he will not be searching such places. So, he does seem determined to serve in this capacity.
How about we reconvene tomorrow night? I, for one, could use a breather. You do look like you could also use one. And I point towards Remy.
It has been an evening of excitement, to be sure. But if you wish to exit, there is a second means up to the top floor, slightly more public than the way I usually come down. We can try either and hope not to encounter him along the way. I can go ahead.
What would you prefer? As this is your domain.
If he finds you, we will be put into a situation that I do not wish to be in yet. Of the members of Robespierre's pack, Monsieur Couton is the one in which I have the most hope, should things be pushed far enough.
Let's see. Hmm. Well, in that case, it seems I have the choice of patron or to leave. Hmm. Um, and I fully don't know which one I want to go for. With
Roll a dice or something. See
with
evens
my
or
like
unevens.
fleetness and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
would I be able to move quick enough to almost not be seen?
You have 5 dots in celerity.
I do.
Yeah. It is certainly an option. You can get out of an area quickly, so
Yeah.
much so that a lot of people won't be able to see you, especially because you have things like blink, don't you, and lightning
I have
strike
blink,
and everything.
traversal, lightning
Yeah.
strike,
Mhm.
and fleet. So
Yeah.
all the quick movie ones.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
No worries.
But on the note of convening tomorrow night, will we be parting ways? Shall we meet at the club tomorrow night?
I should know soon enough whether or not that will be advisable. There is, of course, the genuinely concerning issue of Sebastian's departure.
Yes, very concerning. How about I wait on the roof, and when Mr. Coton leaves, you can send signal to me.
Very well. I shall go to meet him now and perhaps occupy him long enough for both of you to make yourselves scarce in the manner of your choosing.
Most kind. She will stand up, tuck all her stuff into her pockets, and get ready.
Yeah.
Right. Remy's the stairmaster today. Gonna go back up. Just kind of steel himself before going out.
Before Remy leaves, I don't think we'll actually join him in going upstairs. But as he makes motions to leave, I think the last thing Mael will do is kind of stop him with a finger, and without looking at him, just say, if you genuinely want to find Sebastian, just know that my abilities are at your disposal.
Thank you, Mael. That is no small offer. I shall let you know.
And
He'll
I'll
go.
let him go.
Awesome. So, what's the plan? Remy, you aim to keep Couton talking, keep him busy, remain in his company.
At the minute, I'm going to use heightened senses to focus on Remy's voice. When he starts talking to Couton, we'll give like a Remy is now speaking with Couton. We can go to Mael, and then she will leave.
Mael will not wait on that.
Oh, okay.
The moment Remy leaves, she is planning to use Mask of 1,000 Faces
Great.
to make her way up.
Lovely. With Mask of 1,000 Faces, I'll get you to make a rouse check.
Yes.
Am I doing traversal and fleetness?
You can use it both if you desire to. It'll be 2 rouse checks, one for
up
each.
to the roof, so I'm gonna rouse.
Great. Mask of 1,000 Faces, just a rouse check.
Yep. And I did it successfully.
Wonderful. As you exit, your face morphs into something generic, something altogether unforgettable. Plain in every sense of the word, one that people would easily pass by as one not unlike anyone else's. You blend in effortlessly so with this ability. Are you heading upstairs into the front exit?
Well, Maya leaves the office without another word to Lucretia. And she won't immediately leave the premises. She'll make her way upstairs and then kind of linger there a bit more.
Okay, cool. I'll keep that in mind. Lucretia, you desire to make your way outside and
I
then
just
up
want to
onto the
get
roof.
super quick and then just like as soon as I leave the door,
Mm.
just head around and up onto the roof.
Okay, cool. I will get. Yep.
Roused twice, succeeded one, failed one, and I just did my dex performance
Lovely.
because of that.
The Nephilim.
With
Yep.
yeah, with fleetness, it gives me a +5 to non-combat
Yes.
dex checks. So I got a total of 9 for
Incredible.
Too fast.
my traverse. Yes, very fast and very flamboyant. And no one's even gonna see it, but she does it herself of like stepping around people in like this pirouetting turn and holding her arms out, pulling them back in so that she can preserve momentum as she moves backwards.
Great. Sorry, just making some altogether random rolls for no reason.
Of
Completely
course.
unrelated to current event.
No.
Lovely. Perfect. Okay. Remy, you make your way upstairs again, and spot Couthon, sort of in, as you look around for him, kind of in the sort of main theater area. He's sort of scouring along all of the aisles, checking, looking, speaking to people as they kind of rush past, crew members and such, sort of wheeling his way down, around, up again, looking for things where he can spot them, running his hand along the barriers, the sort of edge of the stage, peering down into the musician's pit below, and sort of just taking in everything and taking in everyone who's sort of bustling around, preparing everything for tomorrow's performance. This is what you see when you sort of spot him.
And okay, I'll walk over towards where he is, and say, forgive me, I
Yes, my boy.
needed to begin my own investigations into this situation.
Of course.
I hope Eleanor acquainted you with the information that she just told me about.
Yes. Feeling as though he's being followed, quite disturbing, though, however, somewhat common amidst the current way of things. People, in their enthusiasm, feel a duty of care towards the idea of virtue.
Indeed, very courteous.
Mm.
I must confess, I am sympathetic to Eleanor's observation that Sebastian can handle himself, and if he has gone against his will, then that is cause for concern.
Agreed. Anyone of our ranks who go missing without a trace clearly isn't a random act.
Have you found anything of interest in your brief perusal?
Not quite yet, though you have quite a vast establishment here, my boy, as you know better than anyone. I will have to take my time.
Certainly. The night is yours. If there are any questions I may answer to ease your passage, do but ask.
None yet, unfortunately, though if anything pops up, I will be sure to seek you out.
And Monsieur Couton, it may also go without saying, if you discover that someone has harmed or otherwise subdued Sebastian, I want to be there when justice is served.
As is your right, my boy. As is your right. And if anything were to happen in that regard, pray be that it doesn't. Doubtless you will know it before I. I only hope that we can get to the bottom of this quickly, thoroughly, efficiently.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, Sebastian was ever one to take his own initiative. Perhaps he is the agent in this affair. I can only hope he'll have learned something interesting, if so.
Hopefully, if he is an agent, that it is an affair not nefarious in any way.
Well, not nefarious for the wrong sorts.
The wrong sorts, indeed. Troubling, so they are.
Indeed. Well, I shall continue making my own arrangements to begin my search.
Absolutely. Do not let me distract you from your own goings, both within and without the establishment. I will not leave any stone unturned when I make my exodus.
Of course. And again, thank you for bringing this to my attention.
Of course. Thank you for your enthusiastic, passionate assistance. It's good to see such an embrace of what we strive for.
Passion and embraces are my stock in trade. Good evening.
He turns without a word and continues on his way from you.
All right. In that case, Remy will wander out to the front of the theater with all of the air of someone who needs to get some air. Not that it does him any good, physically speaking. But sort of walk pensively in front of the theater and then turn down the side street alley sort of behind it. And knowing that Lucretia is up there and that Mael is around somewhere, we'll just sort of loudly sigh.
Yeah, certainly. There are, sort of flyers and posters on the walls of the buildings opposite and such, recruiting for the National Guard and such. All civilians welcome now. It's not only open to those of titles and such. Anybody is allowed to carry a bayonet now and go off to the provinces and fight for the revolution and such. A lot of this type of paraphernalia scattered all throughout Paris. A reminder of the strange, almost stranger than fiction, the world that surrounds you and bombards you at every turn. Turn now to Mael. Sorry.
No, Mael.
Turn now to her again. You linger in the front area upstairs. Is there anything you'd like to do, observe whilst you're here?
I think Mael will observe everything in general upstairs, but maybe also make her way over to the bar, and talk about, like, get one's attention and try to talk about the proprietor of the establishment.
Certainly. Are you looking for the attention of a staff member here, or rather a patron, a customer, somebody who's come in to see a show?
Find Eleanor.
All of a sudden, staff members will be more positive, I guess, because they get paid. So will go to one of the just customers
Yeah.
and try to get a conversation going there briefly.
Certainly. There is a sort of lone kind of man wearing bourgeois black and white, sitting down at a table on his own, writing notes in a little notepad of sorts, with a sort of quill pen that he dips into like a small bottle of ink and is writing feverishly. As you approach him, he looks up over these sort of dark spectacles that he is wearing, and he says, "Mademoiselle, can I help you?"
I was just looking for someone to have a chat with. It's my first time here in this fine establishment, and
Yes,
I seem to be
indeed.
quite overwhelmed.
Did you enjoy the show?
I at last missed it. I came in just too late to see it, but
Ah,
I hear all the rumors around, and it seems like a lot of people enjoyed it.
yes, this place is very controversial. Some people love it, some people hate it, but the premiere tonight was wonderful. The lead actor, incredible stuff. You should definitely come by again and catch it if you can.
I am most definitely planning to visit more often indeed.
I would
Have you
recommend it.
perchance seen or heard anything about the proprietor? I hear he is quite the figure.
Yes, I've shaken his hand once before, years ago when this place first opened. Monsieur Saint-Jean, he is a fellow, comes from over the sea, I believe. I don't know much about him. Very cordial, very proud of the art that happens at this place, hit or miss as it may be. Though I know not much about him when push comes to shove, only that he takes a lot of pride in this place, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I hear.
As one should if you look at this. It makes one wonder what motives one could have to want to build something like this. Takes quite a bit of courage as well, and quite a bit of belief. No?
Interesting you say that. There is a strange word on the street among the critiquing community that he sort of sits on some kind of fortune that nobody really knows about. Pile of gold somewhere hidden, so to speak. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I have not, but it would seem more obvious that one would dare to take such risky actions if they have a treasure to keep them safe, if needed.
I suppose so. Why, if I may ask, do you bring this up? I'm just a journalist.
Oh, I am not the one who brought up the treasure. You are, correct?
That is true.
I knew none of it before you mentioned it, which I'm grateful for. But it is, as all things today are, just a rumor.
Lots of hearsays fluttering about. You are correct.
I thank you for the lovely chat. I will leave you back to your writings.
Of course, of course. He looks rather perturbed, as he realizes that he's been caught up in your question and perhaps revealed something that maybe he shouldn't have. He's not sure. Do you leave once you bid him adieu, or do you go around a little more?
I will leave. After lingering like that.
Yeah, certainly. You head out the front and probably meet up with Remy again outside. But before you do so, we'll move to Lucretia. You make your way up
The roof.
beautifully onto the roof. In a split second, nobody even has a chance to even think about registering the fact that you are there, at all whatsoever. What do you do once you're up there?
Once she's up there, I think she just looks across at the lovely Parisian skyline at night. She takes it in. She absorbs the fact that thousands of people are dying a day to keep this going. This kind of beauty in the fact that Robespierre is able to continue to do that to this day, and now she is working against that. But most of all, she is thinking about Miel, and the fact that she can't say anything, and how it reminds her of herself when she was a human before she got turned. Her inability to voice how she felt, ultimately leading to her being killed because all she was a pretty face because she couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And it kind of, she doesn't quite know how she wants to proceed, because Miel clearly doesn't want her pity, and she doesn't want to pity her. So she's like, Miel can solve it if she wants, and she'll be there to help. Equally so, she feels just a little bit isolated at the moment. She's away from the Palais Royal.
Yeah.
And she's kind of just, a lot's happened tonight. There's been a lot of shifting, and it hasn't been cool, fun, sexy drugs and debauchery. It's been huge political shifts and stuff that she feels too much spotlight on her right now, even though there's no spotlight. So I think she's managing herself and just being like, oh God, what am I doing? I'm on the roof of a theater right now. I'm not some shovelhead that got picked up. I'm the owner of the Palais Royal. And then when she hears a loud sigh.
I'm going to stop you. As you are thinking about the momentary shift that your unlife has taken in the past night.
Yes.
And that feeling of isolation, of feeling lost, of feeling perhaps searching for direction or a sort of spot to place your belief.
Yes.
I'm going to get you to make a composure awareness check for me. Sort of a weird one.
No, that's all right. Composure.
As you sort of try to center yourself, in a sense.
Yep. That is 4 successes.
Great. You sort of have this thought, I'll say, as you're looking over the Parisian skyline and thinking about all of these things. Your mind shifts momentarily back, sort of rewinding through the conversation, the heated conversation between you and Mael in the office. The threat of having one of Robespierre's lieutenants at the same location as you. And back further to the conversation you were having about Voldery and about breaking it and about undoing all of those things that once represented everything between you three, represented everything that Mael clearly despises now.
Yes.
And your attention is brought momentarily back to the conversation surrounding Mr. Bilal Varenne. You see in the distance a sort of domed building. It's a grand, almost white building, I suppose. Your intimate knowledge with the process of revolution, especially as it sort of unfolded in 1789, your eyes fall momentarily on a building which is called Les Invalides. You knew it before the revolution to be this kind of military museum, essentially, that hosted all of the sort of important historical moments throughout the whole Ancien Regime, the sort of guard of the king and such, and all of the various military successes and defeats documented in it and such. And ever since the revolution, it has remained as a military museum, but has sort of changed track in a sense, to represent instead all of the kind of propagandistic, revolutionary kind of war efforts that have happened since the revolution and such.
Lots of stuff
And-
against like Prussia
And Austria. Yeah, exactly
Austria,
right.
yeah.
And even the sort of quelling of anti-revolutionary movements within
Yeah.
France and everything, sort of in the name of liberty and equality and fraternity and all of that sort of stuff.
God bless. Yeah.
And you make a connection essentially with this location and all of these things that you were talking about with Maël, the breaking of the Voldery, the ability of Bilal Varenne to achieve these kinds of things. And it sort of sparks a moment of clarity in you as you kind of see a way forward with all of these things rushing through your mind. It sort of is a star in an otherwise bleak black night sky for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think she looks at it and probably just thinks about, I wonder what history will be stored in there when all of this is done. Then I imagine she'll probably hear a sigh in the alleyway. Do I have to use traversal to get down, or can I just jump down?
You can make a dexterity athletics roll to sort of
Ooh, let's do
wheel your way
dexterity
performance. Yes, you can change athletics to performance.
Do a flip.
You hear Maël from below.
Cannonball.
Sadly enough, no.
4 successes.
Okay, cool. I don't know. How tall would the building be? I imagine not so much. How big is the
mean,
theater itself?
Like, it's not an opera house, but it is a theater.
Yep.
So,
I'm
like, it's
thinking like
taller.
the Regent Theatre in Melbourne, like 2 stories, kind of.
Yeah, maybe a little play. It's probably a narrower kind of building
Yep.
than, but
Yeah.
it's not a trivial jump.
No, we're talking probably 3 floors of something. I'll say with 4
I
successes.
do have fleetness still active.
Yeah, you
which
do.
gives me a +5. So technically, it would be 9 successes on that.
Do a
Plus
flip.
5
Fleetness
dice.
is kind of fun.
Not plus 5 successes.
Oh, +5 dice.
Could you imagine just like an
Sorry, never
extra
played
5
vampire
successes?
before.
Here we go. 3 successes.
Yeah, that's right.
Whoops. In that case, it goes from 4 successes to 9 with a crit.
Amazing.
Hey, you
Is
earned
it- I'm assuming it's not a messy critical?
It's a regular.
Okay, great. I was going to say with 4 successes, you'd probably take a couple of superficial damage, but with a regular critical success, 9 successes, you sort of kind of
Grace
gracefully.
stands at the top,
Yeah.
sees Remy, looks down. If you look up, looking at the probably see that she's deliberately placed herself to be like silhouetted down. She hand up, and then as she goes to do like a curtsy, she flips down, lands on her feet, dress ruffling out. Adjusts her hair slightly.
Bravo,
Bonjour, monsieur.
as always. I am.
Maël just sort of emerges.
No,
not yet.
She has another plan.
Oh, okay.
She's and she still looks like an
Looks like
average,
somebody else. Yeah.
person. So no worries.
Okay.
Just say, Monsieur Couton is still on the premises, continuing his search. I don't know what has become of Sebastian, but
Seem quite attached to him.
well, yes. You
Who is
remember?
he?
Going to have to call on him by other means, I'm afraid. Bit of a morning visit.
I see. But he's part of this new pack?
I beg your pardon?
Is this part of some new pack?
This. You mean how I will call on him?
No, so who is this Sebastian?
Ah, yes. He's one of my packmates.
Ah. Uh, who else is in this pack?
Eleanor, who you would have heard outside the room. She was the
Ah,
one who warned us of Kuthon's arrival.
mhm. Sebastian and Eleanor as well.
Yes.
Is that the truth?
Yeah, it is.
Um, and hmm, well, do you like them?
I admire them, each in their own way.
And what is Sebastian's way?
They each have great potential. I believe the same thing of you two as well.
Yes, my potential is boundless and easy to see. Um, but it is. Is this going to distract you from the mission?
You've known me for long enough, Lucretia, to know that what appears to be a maze at first always resolves itself into a line.
Mm-hmm.
What may be a distraction may, in fact, uh, become the main action in theatrical terms.
Yes, or it could be a sidetrack that ends in a waste of time.
Put
But
yourself in the position of someone who wants to manipulate us, Lucretia. Think about what you would do.
not made use of. But regardless, we can look into it, try and find. I'm sure Miel can help. We
Yes.
should also visit the museum at some point. I think it would be good.
Do you have a contact there who can help our cause?
I feel that people who stand by the revolution would likely go there. And perhaps it's a hunch at best.
Far be it from me to cast aspersions on the might of a hunch.
Indeed.
Suspicion, a niggling
Yes.
idea. Crowns have been taken for less.
Indeed, they have. Also, Miel cannot speak to us about certain things. She's composed. It seems that her secrecy and inability to communicate is from the unknown, not from a personal vendetta.
Well, some secrets hide in plain sight, just as
Mm.
Mael can.
Yes, very much so. But good to be aware.
Perhaps there's something to be done there. As I said,
Yes.
no distractions.
Yes, or it is a maze in a straight line that we will all end up marching together.
Yes, of course. The issue is the line only appears so in retrospect, on occasion.
Yes, of course, of course. Well, you had best speak with this Kuton, help him if he needs. I don't
Yeah.
imagine he will be getting to L'Oubliette without assistance.
Well, he is rather familiar with the establishment.
Mhm.
But what I will say is that though he appears to be here alone, do not rule out the possibility that he has eyes and ears nearby. Maintain discretion, I think.
Yes. Well, being out here outside of the Palais Royal is against discretion.
Tis true. Tis true. Then again, it might not only be agents of Georges that are watching us at this moment. So many interested parties.
Yes, yes. Best interests certainly feels like best interests.
Best interests.
Mm. Well, shall I wait here?
I'm uncertain of Mael's
Mm.
intentions.
Aren't we all?
Indeed. It's exciting, though, isn't it?
It is, yes.
A
It
little bit.
seems everybody is
We
doing
will-
something.
We will shift to Mael. Thenceforth.
Mael is not planning to do a lot. She's actually waiting outside a bit. I think she's even listening in on the things.
Lovely.
But basically her plan is to, if they exit, and especially if Remy exits, she'll still remain in Mask of a Thousand Faces, but she wants to say something and then she's planning to leave.
Yeah, certainly. Well, you see Remy and Lucretia conversing out the front of the theatre outside, sort of on the side of the street. When you finish talking to the journalist, you spot them both outside the front.
I think she will make motions to walk past them. And as she kind of comes past, she'll incline her head to the other two and shortly say, how do you pronounce your last name again? Monsieur Sinjin? Monsieur Sinjin? Okay. She'll pass by, nod her head, and say, Monsieur Sinjin, I would be very careful of the rumors out here. Wouldn't want someone coming in to steal your fortune now, would you? Good evening, my lord.
Is it in Mael's voice?
It would be. I don't think Mask of a Thousand Faces changes.
I don't know.
Changes the voice.
This is gonna be an acting check. Monsieur Stingy.
Monsieur Stingy. So wait. Nondescript allows them to interact and communicate with those they might run into.
It doesn't say it changes the voice, so I'm going to assume that it doesn't, and that it only changes the appearance. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I'll act. I'll roll for it.
Yeah.
Sure. Is that a contested roll or
charisma, performance versus wits insight.
Let's go.
My best roll ever.
It's actually a pretty good roll for me. This is gonna be fun.
Oh no, Mael.
I'm gonna rouse the blood even.
Yeah.
You do that.
Add 2 dice and rouse.
Okay, so I'm good. I'm gonna
Nice.
add 2 dice to that to make it a decent pool at least.
Yeah.
4 dice instead of 2.
Yeah.
So I've got 7 with a critical success.
You temporarily gain Sense the Unseen.
I've got Sense the Unseen.
Ah.
I just didn't activate it.
Yeah, you will probably beat my 1 success.
Yeah.
Even I beat your 1 success, and I only got 2.
But it's just the voice that sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Probably since you were speaking to her not so long ago at all. Doesn't look anything like Mael at all whatsoever. Too plain, too nothing. Everyday sort of kind of guildswoman who walks down these streets off to somewhere else. However, it is her voice. Clearly her voice. Lucretia, the voice is familiar to you, but you don't know that it's hers specifically. Yeah.
I'll let this figure get a little bit away walking, and then I'll just say, my treasure hides in plain sight, oft unknown unto itself.
I think there'll be a little passing glance, but she'll keep walking.
Lovely.
I think perhaps our business is concluded.
Yes, it does. Well, there's been quite a joy to see you again, Monsieur.
'Tis been an evening of joys tempered. But, well, we are in for some excitement.
Yes, indeed. Ah, I do not enjoy what is to transpire. Simply put.
Well, perhaps we can rendezvous again soon, and I hope to have more information about the whereabouts of my packmate and confirm my suspicions that it might be relevant to our endeavors.
Your dream thing
Mhm.
requires that you drink someone's blood to do, or they drink yours?
If we have ever shared blood,
Ever.
I can
So
I
it's
can
just
invite
no.
you. I can invite you to my dream.
Got it. So it's not like a thing that needs to be refreshed. Or...
No, if I choose to have you along, then I can have you along.
I think, yeah, she'll be like, if you require my presence
Mm.
upon summoning Sebastian today, then I have the day free.
It is a rather reliable sanctuary.
It is. It
Well,
is.
I shall do so.
Hmm.
It has been too long.
Yes. Ah, a joy, Monsieur Remy. So unfortunate that it be under these conditions. But
Yeah.
regardless, we'll be spending more time together, and we can, I'm sure, forge in earnest things that were created in the past.
Indeed. Well, vive la
And I
France.
can find this treasure, and she'll look up at the theater. It seems it is in plain sight. Good evening.
Good evening.
She will probably zip off.
Mm. Are you all heading back to your respective havens for the night? Is that
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I would say so. Although think yeah, I don't know if Remy has any concrete steps regarding Sebastian other than trying to get to him during the day. See what the go is there.
How late is it?
Yeah. When are we?
You still have quite some time left in the night.
Yeah.
It is about 2 a.m. at this point.
Would it be a pain in the ass if I went to the museum on my own?
Or would it be nicer for us to go
It
together?
would-
It would be
I'm-
nicer for you to go together.
Yes, that's totally fine.
Mhm.
Cool.
Mhm.
In that case, because she is out on the town, which she doesn't do very often, I think she's going to play in the crowds. She's going to get public opinion. So on her way back, she is finding a boisterous crowd of women.
Yeah.
She is specifically only finding groups of women to talk to.
Women are known to be a lot
and
more honest in these revolutionary times than the
They're
men.
the reason this whole thing started. So she's gonna join up with them and ask just leading questions and stuff. She's playing up her very Helena, innocent,
Yeah.
ditzy. Oh, I was at the speech and some of the words he used were so confusing. What could you explain what they were and try and get them to lace their own opinions into it? She's trying to figure out if the general populace actually disagrees with Robespierre.
Right.
Because she hasn't spoken to these people in a while.
Mhm.
So she's trying to confirm with herself that Robespierre does need to be removed. Is what's
Lovely.
going on.
I will get an intelligence etiquette roll
Got
from
it?
her as she sort of peruses the crowd. You have Actually, it can either be etiquette or it can be academics philosophy, which I know you have a specialty in. Either
Yes.
or. Yeah.
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 Does my stunning play into this?
Yeah, it would. You'd be more likely to garner attention from
What does
people.
stunning do again?
You can add 2 dice to appropriate rolls. I'll say it does in this circumstance, even though the roll is weird.
Oh, I've never rolled this. 2 crits. I've never rolled 2 crits before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 with 2 crits.
Wow. Wowee. Is it a messy?
It's not. Oh my god, that was so scary. How
Cool.
exciting!
I was looking for 1 crit. 2 is, not
2.
something we can cater for.
Oh shit! Sorry, I'll leave.
No. It's just too much success.
Yeah,
It's
she's
very
really
Lucretia.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, to pry people's desires and beliefs.
Yeah, for sure. Because you're dressed down this night as well, it becomes easier for you to integrate into this group of women. And you've spent time around these people before.
Actually, very quickly before I do it, I think she takes the thought she had before. She gets the pockets that are underneath her dress. She puts them on the outside. She probably takes extra fabric from somewhere and she stuffs her pockets. Like
Great.
she adjusts herself to look more fitting before she does it.
Yeah, as she's walking, she's kind of moving and adjusting herself actively. The women, talking to them one-on-one especially, they're all terrified of speaking what they actually feel, but there is a real kind of mob mentality about them in terms of their ideas. So it's very easy for you to kind of unravel their ideas when you get them in groups of 5 or 6 at a time. And they're tentative at first about saying what they actually feel, but then they express their fear about, I don't know if I'm going to get arrested tomorrow, the next day. Like, it could be all over for me just at the click of a finger. And that fear kind of morphs into anger as they feed off each other's fear. And you sense a real kind of choleric hatred for the way things have turned out that's masked behind just them going about their business. And they are protecting each other by being in one another's company, essentially, and forming these cliques with each other, not allowing outsiders in, so they can appear to be active and outward about everything, which is what people are looking
She'd
for.
be playing into
Yeah,
that too,
definitely.
being like, oh, thank goodness I found you all then too.
But yeah, they are both terrified and completely livid about the state of affairs and lean on each other for support.
And they are blaming Robespierre for this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So it is purely on...
He has stood on top of a fake mountain and declared himself the god of a church. He is very easy to blame.
Got it. All right. Yeah, I think she does this for a little while. She gets like really good collections of people's beliefs. Are there people that still stand by it? Like genuinely?
With the amount of success as you got, sure, there are like some that do you pass by. There are people who are expounding upon these beliefs authentically, and it's clear from your sort of active perception of this how it sort of creates this passive schism between those who do and those who don't, in terms of those who talk to each other and stuff.
Philosophy, because that's what she's using, of belief, and like people want something to believe in, and he has given them that, but then there are people who are like, it goes against the things I believe in. It's like scares me and stuff. So I think she plays both sides of it. Like when someone's like, I think it's good and stuff, and she's like, oh, I get it now. Yeah, I believe in that too, and get them to be like, do they still like Robespierre, or do they only like the belief?
They still like Robespierre.
Okay, cool. All right, so it is back to square one. But ultimately, the women are like angry and livid and stuff like that. And with that, she will make her way back to the Palais Royal.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Does Mayel do anything with the rest of her evening?
Hmm. I think not, but during the time that she goes back to her haven, there's definitely a duality in her head that she has to suppress the urge to go and hunt. Not per se because she's hungry, but because there's a lot of turmoil inside
Yeah.
of her right now. And she doesn't necessarily know how to handle all of that. So her instincts would call her to just like run and do something, hunt. But I think the rational part of herself stops her just because of like can't make too much of a ruckus. These days, everything is dangerous and all of that.
Yeah. Makes sense. You make your way back slowly to your haven, sort of contemplating.
I will say,
Yeah.
she won't just go sit in the basement dreadfully by herself. I guess she'll play the neighborhood gargoyle for a
Yeah.
bit and sit on top of one of the roofs.
A good sort of a place to contemplate everything. You get also, not dissimilar to Lucretia's kind of contemplation above the theatre earlier on, from atop the building where you make your own haven, not far from where Francine Corday and her anarch followers also make their sort of gathering place as well. And the skyline of Paris looks as it always has, and that is disconcerting because you can see the chains that stem from Robespierre himself and bind this city in a dreary, foggy, fundamentally wrong kind of chokehold. And it's impossible to see that when you see the expanse of the city itself stretching far off into the distance. It's as it always has been, but when you eventually drop down and go into the basement for the day, all of that illusion of freedom, of how things have always been, the timelessness falls away, and the flyers talking about revolutionary propaganda hit you in the face again, and the moment of peace, momentary as it was, where you were yourself and only yourself, is broken. It's shattered. And the chains, you feel them once again. At least for now. Lastly, Remy. How do you spend the rest of your evening? Are you with Couton? Do you stay out of the theatre?
I think Remy will take a little bit of time once Mael and Lucretia have left to just be alone in that kind of alleyway, look up at the theater. But then he will go back down to the oubliette and sit in the room filled with people who are sort of dreaming and sleeping there. And then take a good look at the one that he fed from before. Is it it's a person who had been there times before, but
Yeah.
is it someone that I know personally, like by name or anything about them? Or is it
Ooh.
just a patron?
You probably wouldn't know him by name. He's just someone. Anyone. He's wearing clothes, like I said, that indicate that he has money, at least enough to not dress like a sort of sans-culotte, street-bearing sort of figure. But many of the people who frequent Paris these days are of this kind of class. He's just anyone.
And I don't know, historically speaking, is there any kind of equivalent? Do people have identifying papers, or is that not really a thing?
He's a man, so he would.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
I'll just see who this person is. I'm
Yeah,
curious about the block that was on him in his dream.
yeah, certainly. His name is Bertrand Villon.
Villon.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a name that Remy would be familiar with?
It's the name of the old Camarilla prince,
Yeah,
but it is
that's what I.
certainly a common French
It
last
is a
name
common
as
last
well.
name, but
Yeah.
this person does look like they come from money, but they are mortal,
Yes,
or he is mortal.
he
Yeah.
is mortal.
Okay, that is interesting.
Mm.
Beltran. Okay. Cool. I think he'll sort of take note of that.
Yeah.
And then I think he will go back upstairs, and sort of just watch Kuthon work.
Mm.
And then probably just make himself available to chat with him if he wants to at any point, but otherwise just oversee business. Is Willem around, or is he gone home?
He's
It's quite late, I
gone.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have. Yeah, in that case, I think Remy will just sort of stand near the bar and watch as things sort of close up or finish up for the evening. Just make
Certainly.
himself available.
Kuthon almost makes a point not to speak with you while he's working. This is something you notice. He is very clearly here on his own, doing this on his own, and continues to very deliberately do so. He goes downstairs, reemerges after about an hour or so, and leaves well before the break of day, so he can get back to wherever it is he sleeps as well.
Mm-hmm.
He thanks you, of course, for
Yeah.
your hospitality.
Right.
And expresses his earnestness in getting to the bottom of this soon, his concern, and just leaves.
Right. Then Remy will head downstairs, down to Oubliette, and then continue down one level further to where his actual sleeping place is.
Lovely.
Lock up.
And as this night comes to a close with, as you say, multiple strands leading off in multiple different directions, perhaps they end in wastes of time, as Lucretia says. Perhaps they end in a line, as Remy says. We'll find out soon enough. Thank you all for coming and joining us for the session tonight. It was lovely to have you here, and I'm very eager to see where things progress next time. I'm Beck. I've been the storyteller for tonight's session. Thank you so much again for coming. And before we head off, we'll get the lovely group of ours to introduce themselves and let us know where you are, where we can find you, what you're up to, etc.
Thanks, everyone. I'm Adam. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Hembry, and also watch the Shakespeare-inspired Dungeons & Dragons stream that I am a part of called Bardic Inspiration. The channel's on YouTube.
I'm Jack. I've been playing Madame de Comtesse Le Visage. I met Dr. Raby on some things, and I will be doing YouTube stuff when I can put points in a line and not create 4,000 tangents.
And hi, I'm Syrinx. I've been playing Maëlle Gadieu, and I am just a regular old cosplayer and TTRPG player, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Syrinx.
Awesome, lovely. Please check these guys out. They're amazing. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We will see you next week for the next session. I hope you all have a lovely day, evening, whatever time it is where you are, and take care. Bye.